It was December 2023 in Broomfield, Colorado, the kind of cold that silences the world. Neighbors remember that night for the stillness, but inside one suburban home on Bentway Street, something unimaginable was happening. Kristil Krug, 39 years old, mother, friend, and wife, had no idea that the person she trusted most was about to take her life. For months, she'd been living in fear. She told friends about a stalker, someone watching her, following her, sending her threatening messages. And her husband, Daniel, had been the one comforting her through it all. But that night, inside their garage, everything fell apart. When the police arrived, Kristil was gone, and Daniel's story didn't make sense. To understand what happened that night, you have to go back. On the surface, Daniel and Kristil seemed like a happy couple. They'd built a life together in Broomfield, a quiet community northwest of Denver. Daniel was 44, a technician, a husband, and a father. Kristil worked hard, raised their children, and tried to keep things stable at home. Friends described her as kind, bubbly, and deeply caring. But inside the walls of their home, something darker was happening. Daniel had become controlling, suspicious, jealous, and obsessed with the idea that Kristil was hiding something. He couldn't handle the thought of losing her, and instead of seeking help, he created a new world, one built on lies. Sometime in early 2023, Daniel invented a man named Jack. To Kristil, Jack was real, an ex-boyfriend who wouldn't leave her alone. He began receiving and sending messages from fake accounts, using burner phones and emails. The messages were detailed and terrifying. They described what she wore, where she went, even where she parked her car. Each time a new message arrived, Kristil's fear grew, but what she didn't know was that Daniel was behind it all. He'd created Jack. Every message, every threat, every piece of false evidence. Sometimes he even sent messages to himself to make it all look more believable. Then he'd show Kristil, "Look, he's messaging me too." He convinced her that the only person she could trust was him. This wasn't just manipulation, it was psychological torture. He broke her sense of safety, isolated her from the truth, and made her depend entirely on him for protection. By mid-2023, Kristil's anxiety was visible to everyone around her. She was losing sleep, struggling at work, constantly checking her phone and surroundings. Friends say she looked exhausted, like she was living in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. But Daniel kept the act alive. He reported the threats to the police, and as if he were also being targeted, he showed them the fake emails, the fake photos, and fake social media profiles. At this point, even investigators believed someone named Jack existed, and Daniel seemed like the loving husband standing by his terrified wife. What nobody knew was that the entire case, the whole Stalker story, was Daniel's invention. He had built it piece by piece, month after month. Every post, every call, every message, all to manipulate one woman's mind. December 23rd, 2023. It was just 2 days before Christmas. Kristil had plans. She wanted to visit family, bake cookies, try to find a moment of peace. But the tension in their home had reached its peak. That evening, Daniel told her they needed to talk, privately in the garage. He said he wanted to protect her, that they'd find a way to stop Jack once and for all. Minutes later, Kristil was dead. When police arrived, Daniel tried to play the part of the grieving husband. He claimed she'd been hurt by accident. But nothing about the scene matched his story. The inconsistencies piled up. In the days that followed, investigators uncovered what he'd been doing. The fake accounts, The burner phones, the manipulation, the lies. It became clear that the stalker never existed. Jack was Daniel, and all the fear Kristil lived with had come from the man who said he loved her. When the digital evidence came in, it was overwhelming. Investigators found every message linked back to Daniel's devices, his IP address, his phone records, his burner numbers. Every threat he'd sent was traceable. He had built the entire illusion to control and break his wife mentally before killing her physically. In early 2024, Daniel Krug was charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors described his actions as one of the most disturbing forms of domestic manipulation they'd seen. A case that blended technology, deception, and emotional abuse into one horrifying tragedy. For the people of Broomfield, the story left scars. Friends and neighbors couldn't comprehend how someone so normal on the outside could hide such darkness. Kristil's friends said she was loving, optimistic, and that she deserved better. Her death became a painful reminder of something bigger, that sometimes danger doesn't come from the outside world. Sometimes it grows quietly inside your own home, from the person you thought would never hurt you. If there's one thing this case teaches us, it's that emotional abuse can be just as real as physical violence. Kristil's story is not just about deception. It's about the quiet horror of being manipulated by the person you love most. The digital age has made control easier for abusers. Fake accounts, hidden apps, and anonymous threats can blur reality for victims. That's why experts say, if something feels wrong, speak up. Because behind the mask of love, sometimes there's something else. Something dangerous and something deadly